All right, so before we even read anything, you're going to have three best friends as a script coordinator. And the first one is called Format Assistant. So you can go to Tools, Format Assistant. So here's the first error that it found. Elements should not start with spaces. So basically there's a phantom space here that we're just going to fix. Go back and click at the top. We could have just clicked fix, but I wanted to show you that. Now it's telling me that I have two characters speaking twice in a row, with no one else in the middle. So looks like this was actually supposed to be Ryan. What a fantastic little tool this is, right? Format Assistant. So this is something that's going to say a lot. Dialogue should be immediately preceded by a character, blah, blah, blah. I don't really know why it does that, but you can just ignore it. I think it's just like a final draft. I don't know. It doesn't like the way that this is done, but I don't really know. So you can just ignore it. Same thing, ignore. No more errors found. But still, what a nifty little tool. So again, before I actually start proofing, something that I like to do is to add scene numbers. These are not going to be the scene numbers. We're going to remove these numbers and then add our final numbers at the end. But I like to add them before I proof, and I'll show you why. It just highlights some errors that may exist. So our first friend is Format Assistant. Our second friend is Script Report. These boxes may all be checked on your final draft. You can just uncheck them. All you need, at least for what I'm going to show you, is scene heading. So, okay. So now we're going to be able to do a quick scroll through and see if every scene got a number and if there's any issues. So everything looks good so far, except for scene 12, which says Frank makes his play. That's not a scene. So let's go see what's going on with that. All right, it says Frank makes his play and it has a scene number. That's because up here is where it shows you what element each line is in the final draft document. So what I mean is, if I click on Judith, the element is character name. If I click on this, the element is dialogue. If I click here, the element is action. So when I click here, this got slugged as a scene, or this whatever. It thinks the element is scene heading, and that's why it snagged a scene number, because when you go to put scene numbers, Final Draft is just going to put a scene number on every element that it thinks is a scene heading. So all we have to do is where our cursor is already on this, so we're just going to go and change that to action. And if you want it to be caps, I guess it could be, but it doesn't need to be. So that's what happened with that. Let's go back to our report and see if we can spot any other issues. Going through, let's see. I think everything else looks good. Yeah, as far as I can tell, everything else looks good. So again, these are not going to be the final scene numbers because this is just for our read. So we can put scene numbers on, take them off as we please. Once we publish and it goes out to people, those scene numbers are set in stone. Those don't get changed again. But until you publish, you can change them as you like. One other thing I do want to show you is when you're in production, you want to be able to see the scene number on every page. So like this scene 8, this is pretty long. So like page 11, you can't see the scene number on it. Page 12, you can't see the scene number on it. So again, in production, you're going to want to be able to see the scene number on every page. So to do that, we're going to go to Document, Mores and Continueds. And then we're just going to check these two boxes, bottom and top of page. So now we see our scene number on every page. So then you're going to go through, and normally what I would do from this point is I would print a hard copy of the script, because I find that I see things on the hard copy, especially typos, that I just don't see as well on a screen. That's just my preference. It's kind of up to you how you like to do it. I would also, as I go through, as I go through the hard copy, I would just make a note to myself, like, because you have to do a day-night breakdown, meaning you have to put like day 1, and every slug has to have this. I'm not going to have you sit here and watch me go through every single one and put the day night breakdown. But as I go through, I would just label it day one, day two in the hard copy. So then when I come back to the final draft document, I can just put them in. And I already understand the day night, continuity. All right, I've gone ahead and put in the day night breakdown. Again, there was no reason for you to watch me do put in these parentheticals. One thing I want to show you with the day night breakdown. Night three. So this is the first night scene in the script, but it's night three because the continuity of the day night breakdown goes, day one, day two, day three, and then night three. Versus it wouldn't be like day one, day two, day three, and then night one. It doesn't matter that it's the first night scene. It matters that it's on the third day and it's the night. It matters what day it is in the continuity versus it being the first night scene. Hopefully that makes sense. A real quick thing about scene numbers: you're not always going to put scene numbers. Depending on, it's going to be show dependent. Whether you put them on the studio network draft or not. Usually you will, because usually it's going to be the draft that you're prepping off of, that production is prepping off of, so they're going to need scene numbers. Something that I should have showed you a little bit earlier. I keep this checklist. I don't really use it anymore because I've been doing it for so long, but you should probably create a checklist. Just because there's so many things that you need to go over, when you're proofing a script before you publish, that it's good to have a checklist just so you can say to yourself, um, there's 100 different mistakes that I can make in this script, but I know one of them won't be scene numbers because I'm following my checklist and I'm going to double check scene numbers. So the more of these checks you can put in place, the less nerve wracking it's going to be once you put the script out. Because there's just going to be more things that you're able to say, well, I know I didn't make that mistake because I went through my checklist. So a lot of these are for future drafts, like printing the revised pages to PDF to see how many revised pages there are. That's more for when we get to colored revisions, which we'll cover. We ran Format Assistant already. Script Compare is something that I'll show you on the next, once we have the next draft, because we have nothing to, this is the first draft, so we have nothing to compare it to yet. I always like to keep the title page open, which I have down here, so that I can make changes as I go. Document SmartType characters. Let's go over that now. So I understand why, you go tools to Format Assistant. I understand why it's called Format Assistant, because it's assisting you with the format. That makes sense. For your characters and your locations, you're going to go up to the top menu to Document, and then you're going to go to SmartType. And I don't know why it's called this, but this is just what it's called, and this is what you have to do. You're going to go to Rebuild, and that's going to, nothing changed. But what that's going to do is, if you're the writer or whoever, say they had a character named Mike, and they decided to take Mike out of the script, Mike would still appear on your character list until you rebuild. So you have to do this rebuild to get rid of those characters. And then you have to do the same thing with locations, and it'd be the same situation. Nothing changed, but it'd be the same situation where it's like if they got rid of a location, it would still show up on your location list until you do your rebuild. So you're going to go do those rebuilds. Then you're going to go to your reports, and you're going to do a cast report. So it's going to tell you, how many times each character speaks, blah, blah, blah. And this is what you're going to use to build your character list on your title page. And then when we do the location report, you're going to use, it's going to be the same thing. You're going to use this to build your locations. And the reason this is helpful, actually, we'll get to that in a minute. What I would do is I would physically print this document out, and then I would also physically print this page out, your character list, and I would just go through and cross off Alex, on this page and then cross off Alex on this page. So then you can see like if there's anybody on one page but not on the other. We're not going to go through and put, I mean, there's so many characters in this script. We're not going to go through and put them all on the title page because that'd be a waste of time to show you guys. But yeah, I would physically print it out and do that. Now, the other reason that these reports are helpful, because see, you have this character here, Bishop, but then right here you have Bishop. So what that's telling us is that at one point Bishop was just listed, with a typo. So what we're gonna do, when I say listed, it means just he was slugged in the script as Bishop. So we're gonna go look for Bishop and we're gonna fix that. So here it is right here, and all we're gonna do is we're gonna just fix that. And then I didn't see any other issues with any characters, but yeah, you should go through all of them and just make sure that all the characters look right. So we don't need that. Let's do our report though for locations. Shows reports, location report, alphabetical. One thing that I did notice when I was going through this is so we have the Dodgers press room. The reason it's listed as two different locations is because one is moments later and one's not. But as you can see here, it should be an interior, and it's interior twice, but it's exterior one time. So let's go take a look at that. It says it's on page 10. Yeah, see, so right here, it got listed as an exterior. We just have to change that to an interior. So these are just helpful ways. There's no step you can put in to catch typos. You just have to, either you catch them or you don't. But there's lots of steps you can put in to make sure you don't make other mistakes. So like these types of things can help you easily see like if a location is slugged incorrectly, which is kind of a bigger screw up if you don't catch that. We don't need to save that. So a couple things that I flagged when I was going through this that I want to show you. And these are just the kinds of things. Your job isn't just to catch typos. It's to catch, other types of things in the script that I'm going to show you. So like in this scene, you have this character here, Frank. And I noticed that he doesn't have a line in this scene. So that's something you definitely want to bring up to the writer, your showrunner, or whoever you're dealing with. Just let them know that. That's the type of thing you want to look out for. Another thing you want to keep an eye on is characters should be properly introduced in the script the first time that they show up in the script. So like, see, it's capitalized, Cole Trimble, Desmond Bishop. It's going to be up to your showrunner if they want to use first name, last name. But the reason they need to be capitalized is because an actor is going to look through this. They're going to look for the first time that their character's name is capitalized. They want to know the first time they appear in the script. But I noticed that this character, Alex Gomez, he's just not capitalized. So the actor may get the script, look through it, and be like, oh, I think this is my first appearance, but why am I not capitalized? And he's going to go back and try to figure out where he first appeared. So characters just need to be properly introduced. Another example of the type of thing that you want to look out for. So we have this scene 9, and it's a two-hander with Ryan and Alex. And then the scene leaves. It kind of cuts off before the scene is over. Then we go to another scene. Whatever, it's Arizona spring training. Then we come back to Ryan and Alex for, it's what they often say is like the A side and the B side of the scene. So scene number 9 was the A side, and that was in Ryan Summers' office. But then when we go to the B side for scene 11, it has moved to Ryan Summers' home. So that's something you're going to want to bring again to the attention of the writer or the showrunner. It's just a typo. They obviously, if it's the A side and the B side of a scene, there's no reason that the scene would be in a different location. So again, just these are the types of things that you want to look out for as a script coordinator beyond just catching typos. If you're watching this and you're like, I don't know if I would catch that. I didn't used to catch these things at first either. But if you think of it like a chess player, and I'm certainly not comparing myself by any means to a chess player, but they say that chess players, beyond being very smart, they just develop a sense for, they've been in every situation so many times. They can just sort of see problems on their horizon because they've been in situations so many times, and you'll just develop an eye for these kinds of things. So if this seems like something that you're like, I don't know if I would catch that, eventually you will. You just, again, you develop an eye for these kinds of things. One, I guess it's a little bit more of a nitpicky thing, but it says camera pans up. Cameras don't pan up. Cameras pan left and right, and they tilt up and down. So we're just about ready to publish, but it's always wise, I think, to run Format Assistant one more time just in case. So we have the thing we don't need to worry about, the thing we don't need to worry about, and then no more errors found, so that's good. The other thing we need to do is we need to remove these scene numbers and we need to renumber. That's because we haven't published anything yet, so these scene numbers mean nothing. Once you publish, absolutely do you cannot change scene numbers after that. Those are set in stone. Once production has a script with scene numbers on it, you cannot change the scene numbers. But because we haven't published yet, we can get rid of these numbers. And if we forgot to do that, that'd be kind of a big screw up. And here's why. Here's why. We're gonna go to one of our good friends' script report. We'll make it bigger here. So as we go through our numbers, remember we had that scene 13 where it said like, I don't know, Frank did something, but it wasn't a scene. And we changed that to an action line. So if we were to publish this and not change the scene numbers, we wouldn't have a scene 13. And that'd be kind of a bigger screw up. We also, when you're going through this, you also want to just scroll through and make sure the day-night breakdown is right. So like D1, D2, D3, night, blah, blah, blah. And you just want to go through and make sure that these all are in order and make sense. Like if it said day and then this was night 7, that would be a typo. So as we go through this, you'll see I forgot to put one on here, scene 42. So we'll go fix that and then we'll renumber. I was talking about like it'd be a bigger screw up if we published this without a scene 13. When I talk about big screw ups, really like the only major screw ups that like might get you fired are sending the script to someone who shouldn't get it. That's a big no no. Or publishing something like sending the wrong draft of the script out. That's a, that's why we went. That's why I went over so in depth with the folder structure and the using the redundant folder structure. That'd be a bigger screw up. Or like sending if the wrong thing goes to production and actually gets shot, that's probably a fireable offense because now you're costing the show money. I would say typos are minor screw ups. Medium screw ups are stuff like if we publish this without a scene 13, because anything that can be prevented by following this checklist very diligently, if it's a mistake that happens because you weren't following the checklist, to me that's like a medium level screw up and it shouldn't happen. So for scene numbers, we're going to go to scene numbers. We're going to remove these numbers because again, they don't mean anything yet. Now we're going to go to scene numbers and we are going to, also when I remove numbers, I went through that really quickly, sorry. Final draft is going to tell you like once this is done, it can't be undone. And it's right. Again, just don't undo scene numbers once it's published. But until we've published, we can do whatever we want. Number, renumber. So now we're going to go to our reports and just make sure that, we have everything in order here. So let's just show it to you guys at 75%. So we have our scene 13 here, and if you were doing this for real, I would scroll through these numbers a little less quickly, but I think we've covered that kind of ad nauseum. Don't save. So the last thing we have to do, and I think I said this before, but I really want to reiterate, is the header is the last change that we want to make. So we decided this is June 9th, matches up there. Studio Drive. Close that. And the reason the header is the last change that we make is because, sorry, it just has to match even though the other one's a Microsoft Word document, we are going to combine these as PDFs, so the header on the title page does have to match the header on here. So really great show. See if that matches. The reason that we do the header last is because when we go grab the script, and we want to make sure we grab the right draft, we want to be able to say, well, it has to be the right draft because the header was the very last change I made in the script. Meaning every other change that I made has to be locked in because I did it before I did the header. Hopefully that makes sense. So that's the reason why you want to do the header last. You want to be able to say it's the last change you made. So we're just going to go to File to Print. We're going to print the entire range. Sometimes you might get tripped up if this says like revision set, because we have no revision marks yet. If you go to print and you're frustrated about why it's not spitting anything out, it's because there's no revised pages, so it's thinking there's nothing for it to print. So you just want to make sure you have entire range set for what we're trying to do for this draft. We're going to go to Save as PDF. Then we're going to do the same thing with our title page. Make sure our header looks good on all 3 pages. Great. So when you get a job on a show as a script coordinator, they're gonna pay or they're gonna have the fancy Adobe installed on your computer, and it's gonna be easier to combine PDFs that way. But it's pretty easy in preview, as you can see. You just literally open one document and then drag and drop your title page into it. We're gonna hide sidebar. I'm gonna close that. So we're gonna call this RGS for really great show underscore 102, the episode number, underscore studio / network underscore the date 6.9.23. That's the naming convention we're going to use for every draft we publish, and it will change obviously when it's like after Studio Network. It'll say production draft. So we're going to go to our folder. We are going to put this into our finals folder. And then we're going to open it and make sure it looks okay. And I specifically put it into my finals folder before I open it because I don't care what it looks like on my desktop. I want to know what it looks like in the folder I'm going to be grabbing from. So like title, episode number, writer, director, date. Making sure that the date, the header looks right. All this stuff. You're going to use that script report with the scenes and the day-night to do your day-night breakdown here. Header looks good, matches, and then I would just kind of do I would probably scroll like at this speed or whatever. We'll just scroll down to the end, make sure it looks okay. All right. I started this dummy email address just to be able to show you guys how to, distro and everything. Obviously, Kevin Dooley is not my name. I just made up a name. And I've since closed this email address, so don't try to email it and don't go bothering someone named Kevin Dooley. That's obviously not me. So we already have our email ready to go because we are efficient and responsible script coordinators. When we got it all composed while we were waiting to get the script, and you'd have your whole distro list here, but we won't put any names into this field until we have the script attached. Script is here. So we're going to do our follow our file path. So 102 Studio Network Finals. We've got our script. Put it here. We're going to send it off to everybody who we would just send it to I would send it to myself and then BCC everyone else. When you're actually doing distro, I think most shows now use like watermarking programs. You're probably not going to be doing it just via like a standard email. Like Synchronize is a program I've worked with that's really great. And we'll go over how to watermark just in individual scripts. That's pretty simple, but yeah, for security purposes, most shows now, and it's just going to be the same. You're going to be composing an email, but it's just going to be through a program. So we're going to send this off, but if I guess again, if you are doing it through email, you just send it to yourself and then BCC everyone else. Send it off. All right, so we have it here. So the last thing we have to do, because our work is not done, is we need to make a copy of what we just did. Put it here. We're going to call this 102 white work. Go to our current working draft folder. We can delete that. That's just like a remnant from a folder from creating this folder. All right, so we're going to open this. We're going to change the header to whip. It doesn't really matter what you write here because this is not what it's going to say at the end. It's just, again, keeping complete control over what drafts, what drafts the writers work on. And we're going to set revision mode. So basically, if they make a change, the star is going to show up. Once we get into colored revisions, the way that we do the header and stuff is going to be a little bit different. Again, you would send this to like your showrunner and probably the writers of the episode. 102 white. I've had a situation before where like the writer who I'm sending to, maybe like if they have a different version of Final Draft or something, they can't open the document I'm sending them, or there's some kind of glitches in the, I don't know, when they go to open the document, it's a little bit different. Something you can do that seems to mitigate those issues is you can just compress the document, and for some reason that you can compress the working file, and for some reason that seems to minimize those glitches. We don't need to do that here. And then you would just send it off to whoever it needs to go to, and then we would wait for our next draft. All right, so the showrunner has sent us the production draft. So we're going to go ahead and create our folder so we can get started. File path is production. New folder. A white. New folder. Original. Finals. This goes here. Duplicate. Now we have our draft to work off of. So as we can see, we've got some revision marks. So we've omitted some scenes here. So if you ever have to omit a scene, you're just going to click so your cursor is on the slug line, and then you would just go up to production, omit scene, and then it would just automatically make it look like this. You don't have to like highlight and delete anything. Obviously, it's not usually going to be you omitting a scene. It's going to be the writer or the showrunner. But to save space, and since we're in the white draft and the pages aren't locked yet, saving space is important. You can actually just delete these two, and then you can go up here to edit scene number, and you can just make this scene 2 through 4, and that'll save you a little bit of page space. I'm gonna go do my format assistant just to get started here. Nothing we have to worry about. Nothing we have to worry about. No more errors. So whatever changes have not been catastrophic. So I'm going to introduce you to, I feel like your three best friends as a script coordinator are Format Assistant, the script report where it shows you the scene numbers and the day-night breakdown in a nice order, and this tool which is called Script Compare. It's your other best friend. So we're gonna go to really great show 102, and we want to compare it not to the work in progress draft. We want to be sure we're comparing it to the draft that went out to people. So we're just gonna click compare. Make this a little bigger for you. I may need to reduce this if I can't fit both on my screen. Reduce this to 100. So over here on the left is my working draft, and over here on the right is the draft that's going to show me the comparison, so I can see actually highlighted what specifically has changed. Unfortunately, when you do script compare, it doesn't put scene numbers on the compared draft. It would be helpful if it did, but it doesn't. That's okay. So right off the bat, looks like a dude who knows some karate. So it looks like this and this are the same. I think maybe the writer, whoever thought about making a change and then didn't. So we can just go ahead and get rid of the revision mark there because it's the same thing. Oh, it's just showing us. Because remember we changed this from bishop to bishop. I guess it, for some reason, is showing us that change even though it's the same. Going down, my next change is omitted. So then I would just scroll down here and be like, what's my next change on this side? Here I have, you want some more. And here it says you want some more crossed out. And then, so it's showing me a change on this side, but I don't see a revision mark on this side. So I think for whatever reason, the writer made a change here. They added the word some, but they just didn't, I don't know, they cleared the revision mark for some reason. So we're just going to put a revision mark there so people know there was a change. Sometimes if it's like a typo, sometimes the writer or you or whoever will fix the typo but not put a revision mark as to not call attention to the typo. But this isn't a typo. This is actually like changing the sentence, so it has to have a revision mark. Moving right along. Yeah, so this is just showing you this. It's going to show you the whole omitted scenes just highlighted. And it looks like these were just straight omitted. Sometimes if a scene gets omitted, but like the action has been moved into like the scene above, I'll just like type like action has been moved to scene, 1, if that were the case, just to help out the reader and production and everything, but that's not the case here. So looks like not too many changes that we have to deal with. Let's see. Going down. See, that's why like scene 9 would be the next change. You should scroll more slowly and just see if you see anything on this side, but like it would be nice if I could just scroll to scene 9 so I could figure out where. So I can more quickly go to where I'm trying to go, but that's okay. All right, so looks like all that happened here, we changed this from interior Ryan Summers' office to exterior courtyard. But it looks like none of the action in this scene actually got changed. Just the slug line got changed from exterior. So this is something you need to bring to the attention of your showrunner, your writer, that this is not supposed to be an exterior, but all the action is still interior, so this stuff needs to change. Like obviously she's not sitting at a desk outside. Yeah, so you just bring that to the attention of your showrunner. I think that's all the changes that I have that I put into this draft. As we go through these various drafts, I'll try to show you different kinds of changes in each draft. I don't want to put them all in one because it's just kind of too much. I don't want to bombard you. So I just want to reiterate why Script Compare is such a helpful tool, because like if we didn't have Script Compare and this had a revision mark, we wouldn't know why. We would just have to look at the PDF that went out and try to look at them, and we wouldn't totally know why. So we get rid of that. And then here, there would have been no revision mark here. So again, without script compare, we wouldn't have been able to see that. We would have just blown right past it because it would just look like anything else. So again, this is a change that got made that didn't have a revision mark. This had a revision mark, but there was no change made. And because of script compare, we were able to see that. So we will close out of script compare. It has done its job and it has helped us. We will save. All right, so one other change that the showrunner has asked us to make. I want to change Frank's name to Ted. So we're just going to go Command F. That brings up this this window. We're going to put Frank, replace with Ted. You want to make sure match case and whole words only are selected. Replace all, 5 replaced. I'm going to do the same thing in regular case. Replace all, 4 replaced. All right, so then we're going to delete that. We're going to uncheck these boxes. We're going to make sure that our cursor is here at the top so that when we do this search, it'll search the whole document because it's just going to search forward from wherever your cursor is. And we're just going to search for the word Frank to make sure it doesn't appear anywhere in the script anymore. Good, it doesn't. Then we're going to save that because we have our title page open. We can collapse that. One thing we've done with the title page, you only have to do this with white. Once you get to color, you don't have to make 2 different title pages. But we're gonna be putting out 2 different scripts, one with revision marks and one clean. So we're gonna have 2 different title pages. So I've already duplicated it and made a clean white title page, and then one where we can make changes on it. So we're gonna write Ted here. We're gonna bold that. We're gonna cross out Frank. Then the other change that we made was, remember we changed Ryan's office. It changed to like exterior courtyard. I don't have all the locations listed here because I don't want to waste time on a Microsoft Word document with you guys. But if Ryan's office was listed here, it'd be the same thing as the characters. You would just cross it out, and then you would write the courtyard here next to yours and bold it. And then on the next draft, Frank would just be gone and Ted would not be bolded anymore. You don't have to keep showing that it's a change. You only have to show it that it's a change on the draft that it changed. I've already changed this from Studio Network Draft to Production Draft. Officially, the white draft is always called Production Draft. Internally and just sort of like conversationally, we just kind of call it white. Because that's where it is in the color scheme, but officially it's called the production draft. So you're never going to write white in any document that goes out for it. So that's why it says, production draft here and here. So we can go ahead and print this to desktop. Close out of that. We're going to pull our script up. If I were you, I'd run Format Assistant again. I'm not going to make you watch me do that, but I would. Just for, surety. Then we're going to go to script report, make sure that all of our scene numbers, everything tracks. We have our scene 13 in there that we didn't have before. We have our, I don't know why the scene 42, the 9/11 fell off, but we will put it back on. And this is a good example of a change I would make, and then I would just get rid of the revision mark because it needs to be right, but we don't need to call attention to the fact that, and that's not what got published. I don't really know how it disappeared. And then again, you would print out, you would look at your report and use that to make sure your day-night breakdown, all your reports, your character report, your location report, you would check all those against your title page to make sure that they're all correct. We don't have to keep this. We can get rid of it. Don't save. All right. So This is where the header situation gets like a little bit more complicated. So we're gonna go again. Header's what we're gonna do last. We're gonna go document header and footer, and then we're gonna highlight this, and we're gonna change this to collated revisions. So, okay, then we're gonna go up here to production, to our top menu, revisions. So it's gonna list all these revision sets for you. I like to just delete all these, and then it's not gonna let you delete the active revision set. So now we're gonna go to. We're just gonna call that. We can. This is what's gonna show up in the header where we put that collated revision thing. So we can write whatever we want with it. I think we did a dash and then the date, which we decided was June 11th. And then this should be actually full draft. It's very important to make sure that for the production draft, that says full draft and not revised pages only. So we're just gonna click OK. Okay. So now see this. So if you go to your document header and footer, it's still gonna say collated revisions. And all that means is that whatever you put in that little revision menu we just pulled up is gonna show up here in the header, and that's gonna be on every page. So that matches what we have on our title page, right? Let's see. Production draft 6/11/23. Yes. So now we can go ahead and print this. Again, we want to do entire range. Doesn't really matter what you call it because we're going to put our naming convention. So we're actually going to close this document now. We're going to open our folder to get our naming convention. We called this. Just going to copy that. Production, finals. So like we've done, we're just going to build our script real quick. Thumbnails. Close there. Hide sidebar. Close that. And again, even in the file name, you're not going to write white. You're going to write production draft. Production. And then I would do an underscore starred. Then that's why finals is pluralized because we're going to be making more than one draft. Okay, very, very important. Do not clear the stars from your star draft. You always need to keep your star draft. You will duplicate. We'll just call this clean. And then on this draft, you're going to clear the stars. So I'll just do Command A and then Command, and then the bracket, that will clear all the stars. There we go. All right, so if there's any stars. So this was our revised title page. Go ahead and delete that. And then we can go to print and just to check, just to make sure that we cleared all the stars, we can go to revise pages only, and then nothing should come up. And it didn't because there were no revised pages. So that's good. Print entire range. PDF, save as PDF. Close out of that. Then let's get our naming convention here. Go to our title pages. Now we have our clean, because this is our clean script. File to print. And again, you should be making sure you're going through all your steps, making sure you're going through the steps to make sure everything on the title page is correct. You should always have that document open when you're proofing a script. So we go back to production, finals. Thumbnails. Sidebar. So here we're just gonna remove the word starred. Put this in our finals folder. And then you're just gonna go, open the clean PDF, open the starred PDF, and you're just gonna make sure everything looks right. When you go send your email, you're actually gonna send two different emails. You're gonna send one email to everyone who got the last draft, and you're gonna say basically the same thing, but you're gonna say, here's the clean draft and the starred draft. And then you're gonna send a second email to anyone who did not get the last draft. And that's just gonna be only the clean, no revision marks, because anyone who didn't read the last draft, they don't need to see revision marks. So you're gonna send your two emails. So then, again, we know we are not done until we make our next current working draft. So we can take our clean draft here, duplicate it, put it down here. We can get rid of these two. Put this in here. We're gonna call this blue whip. All right, so now is when I feel like you start to kind of earn your paycheck as a script coordinator. This is when it gets a little bit more complicated. So we're gonna go to our revisions menu, and we are going to create our next revision set. So, sorry, it used to be you could just type on here. Now they've changed it, so we're gonna call this blue whip. These revisions need to be done in color, so it seems like a nice shade of blue. All right, so this is gonna be revised pages only. Page color, I always leave white. Final draft does have a function now where it's like, if you select blue, any page that's a change made to it, like the whole page will come out, like show up in blue. Revised pages, okay. So we're gonna go to next revision set. And as soon as we click next revision set, that's automatically going to clear the stars from the previous revision set. You don't have to go in and like command all and then clear your stars. It doesn't really matter when you're going from like the white production draft to blue, because we worked off the clean, we had our clean white production draft with no stars on it to make our blue whip file. But when you go from like blue to pink, and you click next revision set, you don't have to go in and clear all the stars from the blue like working file. It'll just automatically clear the stars when you click next revision set. Because when you're sending out the whip, you don't want to send a whip to the writer or the showrunner with any stars on it, because obviously any changes they make going forward, that's when the stars are going to come. So we're going to press OK. So what that's going to do, we have revision mode on. If a change gets made, see it changed up here in the header. I'm gonna do that again for you, but it changed up here in the header to blue whip. So we're gonna undo that. So right now it says production draft. Anytime a change gets made on this page by the writer doing the revision, that's gonna change automatically up here. But this page is gonna still say production draft. Now, we gotta clear this revision mark, and that's gonna change that back to production draft up here. All right. Now we have to lock the pages. Lock pages, you have to do it twice. You have to lock pages and then lock A pages. Pages are now locked. And what that means is, if a change got made that pushed this down onto the next page, this would now become page 1A. And then this is page 2. So it doesn't throw off the continuity of your page numbers. So that, I believe, is it. So we'll close out of that, and then you would just go send this blue whip to your showrunner or the writer or whoever, and then you would wait for the next draft.